In 1714, the young Charles Coypel was asked to design a series of paintings based on Cervantes' masterpiece, Don Quixote, published in two parts in 1605 and 1615. The commission came from the Duke of Antin, director of the Bâtiment du Roi, the powerful institution that coordinated the building and decorating of French royal residences. The painting serves as models for a series of tapestries woven at the Gobelin tapestry manufactory. Over the next 36 years, Coypel painted 28 scenes. Cartons from the Italian cartone, such as these, were typically commissioned from painters at the Royal Academy, like Coypel, and were used as guides for composition, coloration, and scale by tapestry weavers. The weavers at the Gobelin tapestry manufactory were among the most talented in Europe. Established in 1663, the manufactory produced sumptuous tapestries, silver, light fixtures, and furniture for the French king's residences and for use as lavish diplomatic gifts to disseminate his glory across foreign courts. By the 18th century, countless plays, ballets, and operas retold and interpreted the adventures of Don Quixote for the court and a popular audience. Coypel himself wrote two plays inspired by Cervantes' novel. Coypel's scenes for Don Quixote will have been familiar to theatrical audiences. His characters use performative gestures and postures. His scenes are often oriented toward the viewer, and perhaps most striking, on several occasions, Coypel frames his scenes with a curtain, making them look as if they are taking place on a stage. The success of the first set of Don Quixote tapestries prompted the Duke of Antin to extend the series. Between 1719 and 1734, Coypel added 12 paintings and a last scene in 1751. By the end of the 18th century, about 200 tapestries from the story of Don Quixote were woven at the Gobelins. Each tapestry panel presents a Coypel scene within a rich alentour or decorative surround of flowers, animals, and other motifs related to the adventures of Don Quixote. Coypel's scene is identified by its title, which is woven into the bottom of the frame. While Coypel's scenes remained unchanged throughout the 18th century, the alentour was modified 6 times to update the tapestries to new tastes and fashions. The earliest alentours, designed by Jean-Baptiste Belin de Fontenay père and the famous French decorative painter Claude Audran III, feature an abundance of decorative elements, trophies, allegories, and references to classical art. This style flourished at the end of Louis XIV's reign. In the early 1730s, the decorative painter Pierre-Josse Perrault designed a new alentour and a model for a tapestry cover of a sofa, back, and seat. A significant modification took place in 1760 when the background of the Don Quixote tapestries was changed from a golden yellow to crimson. This background imitates a damask wall covering in rose and crimson, festooned with large garlands of flowers and fruits tied together by a blue ribbon. While the tapestries were luxury items, accessible to only a few wealthy patrons, Coypel's paintings gained international fame from a series of black and white engravings. Between 1723 and 1734, Coypel had 25 of the 28 cartoons engraved by some of the most distinguished French 18th century printmakers. Thousands of sheets were printed and sold individually or in folios. The prints, reproduced and reduced in size, were also used as illustrations in Cervantes' novel, not only in French editions, but in English and Dutch as well. Coypel's designs also influenced tapestry production in France and abroad. Around 1730-1745, the Bruxelles workshop of Peter van der Ecke produced a series of 8 tapestries illustrating the story of Don Quixote. 6 are inspired by engravings after Coypel. Visually different from the Gobelin's Don Quixote tapestries, the scenes cover the entire surface of the tapestry panel and are surrounded by a simple border that simulates a carved and gilded frame. In some instances, the Bruxelles designer combined figures from 2 different engravings after Coypel. In The Arrival of the Shepherdess at the Wedding of Camacho, the wedding guests and the young girls dancing derive from Coypel's scene of the same subject. But the figures of Don Quixote and Sancho come from the entrance of love and treasure at the wedding of Camacho. More importantly, the cartoonist, working within the Flemish tradition, incorporated Coypel's figures into large landscapes reminiscent of 17th century Dutch paintings. With these 2 Flemish tapestries, the exhibition brings Coypel's design full circle, from the original cartons to the woven Gobelin tapestries, to reproductions in prints and books, and later tapestries from the workshop of Peter van den Ecke. We welcome you to visit Coypel's Don Quixote tapestries, illustrating a Spanish novel in 18th century France, on view in the Oval Room and East Gallery through May 17, 2015. For more information, please visit our website, frick.org.